Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the main news on Camnet TV with me, Sylvia Zulu. Here are the top stories making headlines in our news. 5 people die of cholera in the last 24 hours. Nas Mumba criticizes former President Edgar Lungu's statement on corruption. An Egyptian national refuses to have his jet forfeited to state, claiming that Zambians were involved in the goat saga. In international news, opposition protesters clash with police in Kinshasa after partial results released. And in sports news, FAZ says the 55 million AFCON budget should be viewed as an investment. Do join me with the details shortly.
Introducing Darren B, a touch of class. Are you looking for the perfect place to elevate your style and glam up? Look no further. Darren B Touch of Class is your one-stop destination for hair and makeup transformation. Walk into Darren B and walk out feeling like a star. Your transformation starts here. Call us on 0772 870 588 or WhatsApp on 0972 049 213 to book your appointment today. Payments are made via mobile money or point-of-sale machine. Strictly no cash payments. We are located along Mosi Road in Ibex Hill, 4th close on the left after Kalikiliki Police Post. At Darren B, we pride ourselves on our team of dedicated and trained personnel ready to pamper both women and children. Darren B is open 7 days a week from 0720 hours to 1740 hours. From trendy hairstyles and stylish makeovers to flawless makeup, we do it all. Darren B, a touch of class.
And now the news in detail. 5 people have died with cholera in the last 24 hours, with the nation recording over 100 new cases as the disease spreads to 12 additional districts. Minister of Health Sylvia Masebo has revealed in a statement that the current outbreak, which was first recorded in Lusaka in October, has extended to other districts. She revealed that currently there are 207 patients admitted across various cholera treatment centers. In Lusaka, the patients are admitted at Chilenje, Kanyama, Chawama, Matero, Charleston, Chipata, and Levi Mwanawasa Teaching Hospital. She said of the 2,473 cumulative total, the health centers have discharged 2,195 in the last 3 months, representing a recovery rate of over 95% and case fatality ratio of 2.9%.
Members of the press, countrymen and women, I'm sad to inform you that in the last 24 hours, we've recorded 111 new cases across the country. And across the country, we have so far lost 5 patients. In terms of the total number of people who have died since January 2023 to date, we have lost 74 lives cumulatively. And these have arisen from 2,473 cases that were reported. So out of that 74, we lost them cumulatively. Currently across the country, we have 207 patients admitted at different cholera treatment centers. In particular, in Lusaka district, these are admitted in Chilenje, Kanyama, Chawama, Matero, Charleston, Chipata, and finally at the Levi Mwanawasa Cholera Treatment Center, which is our biggest cholera center, where cases are being sent to those which are serious. Elsewhere in the country, we have admitted patients in Chove district, Chilanga, Petauke, Mumba, and Chibombo.
Some residents of Lusaka's Chawama compound, Patuka area have continued to express concern over the abandoned drainage which is causing flooding. One of the concerned residents, Michael Jere, says the Chawama area member of parliament, Tasila Lungu, Tuesday visited the area with the promise of engineers resolving the matter, but nothing has materialized. Mr. Jere says the abandoned drainage is now causing flooding in the area, hence the need for authorities to move in quickly. Earlier this month, more than 15 houses were flooded in the area as the abandoned drainage released water.
Authorities have not worked on the diverted abandoned drainage which caused flooding of about 15 houses in Lusaka's Chawama compound behind Cheshire Homes more than a week after the incident. On December 17, several residents in this area woke up to flooded homes which left some household goods damaged. A check by Camnet News Thursday found the drainage unattended to, with residents attempting to bury it even using extreme means such as seen here, using garbage. The concerned residents in this area have disclosed that the abandoned drainage has become a source of conflict.
So pametina amba kuivala ba kuna beva na bori dandaula ati manzi yange na manyumba. So na ise tipemba uti i drainage tigwirizane ivaliwe drainage chifukana wewe vashita affect manzi yange na manyumba. Na ise tikachisegula yange na futi manyumba. So chametipemba tifuna chabeti gwirizane chivaliwe cabbage. Mr. Jere says area member of parliament Tasila Lungu visited the scene and assured a solution, but nothing is coming forth.
Engineer was upgraded, but up to now the engineer lelo so anaoneke. Already mkayangana papatuka pa jamanze manzi ya paka. Then manje mkayangana drainage yatu imanje because of my block manzi bantu. Kutiasa ende kumayadi kwao. Bambotenga mabini manje baponya manje drainage kutia shite bwanji ti block manzi. So please, we need your response. Otherwise is atletera cholera. Cholera yamba kudala. Mkangana mchawama muno manje cholera tingenera. So my zaenda bwanji, zankala bwanji. If ngati mtego city yanganapo, zashita bwanji zachita say.
With the continuous rains being experienced in Lusaka, it can only be hoped that authorities will move in to prevent the reoccurrence of the flooding of houses which was experienced here. For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
The Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit National Coordinator Gabriel Pollen has revealed that DMMU has started a short-term flood relief exercise following flooding in different parts of the country due to heavy rains. Speaking when he toured Lusaka's Kulima Tower bus station to appreciate the state of the drainage system at the station, Mr. Pollen says DMMU is working with the Zambia National Service to pump out water in flooded areas of Lusaka. He has further urged citizens to come on board and stop indiscriminate disposal of waste that is affecting already existing drainage systems. We have the details in the following report.
Most parts of Zambia's capital city, Lusaka, experience flooding almost each and every rainy season. The continuous flooding has been attributed to by many stakeholders to the lack of proper drainage systems and the indiscriminate disposal of waste in most areas, which has led to rainwater diverting into homes and public spaces. On Wednesday, the 26th of December, Camnet TV aired various stories from various parts of Lusaka concerning floods, namely Kabanana Township, Kamwala Clinic, and the Central Business District, where citizens raised concerns of what measures are being put in place to mitigate the issue of flooding.
If they make the drainage out of the tarmac, it will be very easy, but even the council to remove the sand or the dirt in under the drainage is very difficult. I'm sure it will be make another system, not to maintain, because the water, there is no way to go.
Responding to the raised concerns, Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit National Coordinator Gabriel Pollen says the unit has put up short-term relief measures to mitigate floods in Lusaka. Mr. Pollen states that going forward, they are working closely with the Lusaka City Council so as to follow the correct principles of urban planning.
As government, we will continue to implement short-term solutions such as pumping of water, pushing it away where it has nowhere to go. And then secondly, we're also trying to push on issues of creating drainages, excavation, creating temporal canal to ensure that the water continues to flow. As you know, this is a function of decades of poor urban development, and we'll continue to work aggressively at every successive turn to ensure that these places get the relief that they require. But importantly, going forward, working closely with the council, we have to follow the correct principles of urban planning.
One is left to wonder when flooding will be an issue of the past for Lusaka City. Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
The opposition movement for multi-party democracy, MMD President Nas Mumba, has encouraged the UPND government to constantly engage the Zambian people and explain to them the hardships that the country is faced with and mitigation measures. Dr. Mumba says the economic hardships the country is faced with will pass as the government has showed political will to address them. Meanwhile, the MMD leader, who is also former Republican vice president, has urged the former ruling Patriotic Front not to cry foul over the divisions in their party, as they also did the same to their predecessors. Dr. Mumba says former Republican President Edgar Lungu should be the last person to talk about the fight against corruption.
2023 has been a politically charged year, with cries over the shrinking democratic space in the country being a motion of debate. Politicians, civil society organizations and political activists, among others, have accused government of restricting the opposition from engaging their supporters. Also, political divisions in the former ruling Patriotic Front have seen most opposition leaders and political activists pointing their fingers at the state to be behind the disunity in PF. But for the movement for multi-party democracy, MMD, their opinion is contrary to all others, as they dig out what happened to them when they lost power to the Patriotic Front.
Our colleagues held a convention outside the authority of this leadership with the help of the ruling party at that time. When we reported to the police, so those police who went to disperse them became the protectors of that illegal convention. I know the way you're looking at me sounds very familiar, and you're wondering, has it happened before? Well, there were policemen around that illegal convention that was set against the movement for multi-party democracy. I wish people could be consistent and call wrong today and call wrong tomorrow. It should not only become wrong when it works against you. It should be wrong because it is wrong. It must be right because it is right.
Speaking during the end-of-year press briefing in Lusaka, MMD President Nas Mumba took time to speak to the economic hardships facing the country.
The high cost of essential commodities like meal, cooking oil, foodstuffs has aggravated the social status and security of our nation. Any party in government that finds itself in this situation will face relentless criticism. UPND needs to have an ongoing conversation with this nation and create hope that if we all hold together, we shall see a better tomorrow. UPND must generate hope in the midst of despair. Leaders are dealers in the commodity of hope. Beyond hope, however, UPND must pool all their resources together and seek to find a short-term solution to mitigating the high cost of meal while waiting for a long-term solution.
The former Republican Vice President could not go without responding to former Republican President Edgar Lungu's statement on the resignation of former Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Minister Stanley Kakubo, where he questioned President Hakainde Hichilema's fight against corruption.
I'm not saying UPND must be doing what they used to do, but there are certain people that can make certain statements who have the moral right to make a statement, and there are some who don't have a moral right. In this case, my older brother, ECL, does not have a moral right to make this statement. And I must make it very, very clear that at the end of the day, what we saw with Honorable Kakubo is what happens in developed democracies. In the PF government, our position as MMD and our experience is not a good one. It has been a very problematic one, and for many Zambians as well. And I think on the issues of corruption, maybe we should ask President Lungu not to say too much right now, because Zambians are still hurting. Zambians are still processing the kind of corruption that was in PF. And the fact that the law has been slow and the process has been slow does not mean that those people are not going to be held accountable. So I think that former president should have congratulated Kakubo for resigning.
Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Ndola-based democracy advocate Fabian says former President Edgar Lungu should have congratulated President Hakainde Hichilema for strides made in the fight against corruption. Mr. Mutale says the former head of state is on record to have refused firing a minister who was involved on corruption scandals. On Wednesday, December 29th, former President Edgar Lungu questioned President Hichilema's fight against corruption, accusing him of shielding his ministers and senior government officials.
He is on record of having shielded his stooges during his reign as president of this great country. Of great mention are incidences where some of his ministers were actually sneaking in and out of law enforcement agencies. He further publicly declared that he was not going to be compelled to suspend or fire anyone on mere allegations. So indeed, it makes sad reading that a minister under the current government, in his own recognizance, opts to resign because of personal dealings that seem to be shoddy. If the former president was fair enough, he should have gone further to congratulate the friend who is the head of state now, that some of his ministers are resigning on their own on moral grounds. Unless he expects the current president to be jury and judge and prosecute and convict his ministers, the step of resigning is clear indication that the fight against corruption is taking shape.
A Lusaka-based concerned citizen, Alex Walia, has hailed former Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Stanley Kakubo, for resigning. Mr. Kakubo resigned from his position Tuesday after an alleged corrupt transaction with Chinese nationals which went viral on social media. Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Walia described Mr. Kakubo's resignation as noble, adding that it will also pave way for investigations.
We wish to comment on what the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs has done. His resignation from his portfolio is well recommended. He has done a very well and noble thing. It's quite extraordinary in an African continent, and particularly if we were to look at many other previous governments where we are coming from, including the PF, it was rare for a minister to resign. This one has shown to have done a very noble thing, to resign voluntarily, so that way the investigation can be paved, so that the investigative wings can come up with what they need to come up with.
Vice President Mutale Nalumango says government appreciates the role that bus drivers play in the growth of the country's economy. Speaking when she officiated at the end of year celebrations by the Kulima Tower bus drivers, Ms. Nalumango says the transportation sector is key in the development of any country. In a speech read on her behalf by Lusaka Central Member of Parliament, Mulambo Haimbe, the Vice President thanks the drivers for their commitment and dedication to work.
Thursday, 27th December, bus drivers at the Lusaka's Kolima Tower bus station gathered to celebrate the end of a successful cadre-free year at the bus station. The event was held to share a total number of 1,600 bags of mealie meal that were purchased by the Bus Driver Association at the market. Speaking in a speech read on her behalf by Minister of Justice Mulambo Haimbe, Her Honor the Vice President Mutalena Lumango urged bus drivers to form cooperatives and participate in the community development funds available in their constituencies. Her Honor also thanked the drivers for helping the country economically through their contributions in the transport sector.
Fine to note that this association has been established to look into the welfare of drivers here at Kolima Tower bus station. As bus drivers, your role under the transport sector cannot be overlooked, as you facilitate the transportation of citizens and their goods from one destination to another. This is contributing positively to the economic transformation agenda of our country. As the UPND administration, we are glad to hear from your testimony that we have created a conducive working environment for bus drivers and other stakeholders operating within our bus stations in the country. As is the case with any workplace environment, all the players need to work in a habitable environment free from harassment and intimidation. We have also brought sanity to our markets and other trading places. Cadreism is now a thing of the past. Each citizen is now free to go about their businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are fully aware, the government has enhanced the Constituency Development Fund. I would like to encourage you to form cooperatives and apply for the funds under your constituency, Lusaka Central.
While Lusaka Central Member of Parliament Mulambo Haimbe has pledged to support the drivers' efforts with a token of 5,000 kwacha for each route in the bus station.
Wanatosa hapo pachipandrama zemnabwa machita save. Simameni. So munina maruti yangati wa fadha? Tina 13 routes. 13 routes. Each route wasonga chilimbai. So kubwezela hapo panchito ya mene wasewenza as your association 9 as MP kutoka Mutumba Mwanga nifuna nchiteka contribution kangono.
Meanwhile, Kolima Tower bus station chairperson Fabian has thanked the UPND administration for ensuring that there is zero cadreism in bus stations.
Encourage government then wakatenga mabasi watilipia no wonder Patriotic takwanza kukula 1,600 bags ya unga tuti matati mashitamu kuliba watengana so tutasikoma waeteti leadership yao wamai wanarumango na leadership yao.
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
An Egyptian national, Michael Botros, who claimed to be a victim of the KK alleged God scam, has maintained his objection in the High Court not to have the Director of Public Prosecution seize his properties and forfeit it to the state, alleging that some Zambian government officials were involved in the operation. According to the latest submission filed in the Lusaka High Court, Mr. Botros contends that there is no basis in which his jet can be seized and forfeited to the state because it landed at the KK airport after getting clearance from the Civil Aviation Authority and the Zambia Air Force. He submits that prior to his arrival in Zambia on 13th August 2023, a payment of $940,000 was made to Ritam Holdings Zambia Limited to ensure all statutory taxes and requirements relating to the gold transaction had been paid and complied with. Details in the following report.
An Egyptian national and renowned international businessman has told the Lusaka High Court that he is a victim of a well-orchestrated fraudulent scam, the Egyptian national Michael Boutros has maintained his objection for the DPP to forfeit his property to the state. According to his latest submissions in the Lusaka High Court, Boutros, who was arrested on Monday, August 14, 2023, on allegations of espionage and other offences but later discharged on a nolle prosequi, contends that his jet cannot be forfeited to the Zambian government because it followed all procedures of clearance and was allowed by Zambia Air Force and the Civil Aviation Authority. In his affidavit in opposition to originating notice of motion for an application for non-conviction-based forfeiture order of tainted property filed before the Lusaka High Court, Boutros submits that it was clear on 13 August 2023 that he was a victim of a well-thought scam which involved several public servants, including airport personnel, who facilitated the scammers to have access to restricted areas to illegally misrepresent him that the transaction was legitimate, being conducted by legitimate prominent Zambians under legal authority of the relevant government departments. The Egyptian explains that prior to his arrival in Zambia, a payment of $940,000 was made to Ritam Holding Zambia Limited to ensure all statutory taxes and requirements relating to gold transactions were paid and complied with. Boutros says after clearance from the Civil Aviation Authority and the Zambia Air Force was made, he was shocked by the level of deception which is demonstrated in the arrest of several Zambian nationals, including Francis Maluwa Makai Mateo, an officer from the Office of the President. The businessman also explains that he spent 60 days in Zambia whilst investigations were ongoing without any charge of smuggling or being in possession of unlicensed weapons because the firearms on the aircraft were handled by security officers and are legally registered. He argues that the firearms were left to the jet and brought to the Zambian soil by the joint team of investigation officers. Boutros also argues that $5,697,700 that are subject to these proceedings never left the jet because there are funds he obtained as benefits in Egypt, and claims some of the money was extorted from him by officers of the joint investigation team after they threatened his life and not to clear the jet to leave. This notice of motion before the Lusaka High Court follows the Director of Public Prosecution application in October 2023 to the Economic and Financial Crimes Court to have properties seized in the Goldgate scam forfeited to the Zambian government on account of them being tainted properties. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Opposition Patriotic Front cadre and businessman Francis Mutembo has asked the Lusaka Magistrate Court to grant him access to his seized properties by the Anti-Corruption Commission (ACC) in order to enable him prepare his defense. Mutembo alleges that the respondent evidence attesting to the alleged value of the properties was false and requires access to his properties for him to prepare his own valuation report, which is consistent. This is in a matter in which Mutembo and two others pleaded not guilty to 10 counts of possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime and failure to comply with the provisions of the Income Tax Act.
Opposition Patriotic Front cadre and businessman Francis Mutembo has requested the Lusaka Magistrate Court to grant him access to his properties, which were seized by the Anti-Corruption Commission (ACC) in order to facilitate the preparation of his defense. Mutembo, in an affidavit in support of summons filed at the Lusaka Magistrate Court, applies to the court to have access to his properties seized by the ACC under a seizure notice issued on January 11, 2022. The accused alleges that the respondent adduced false evidence in relation to the alleged value of the properties which were seized, and having access to his properties would make him produce his own valuation reports of the properties for the consideration of the court. Mutembo indicates that it is the right of every accused person to be granted adequate facilities for the preparation of defense. In this matter, Mutembo 38, alongside two others connected to FORFEITED Networks Zambia Limited and Altitude Properties Limited, faced 10 counts of possessing property suspected to be proceeds of crime and failure to comply with the provisions of the Income Tax Act. In count 1, allegations are that Mutembo on dates unknown, but between January 1st, 2015 and August 31st, 2022, jointly and whilst acting together with others unknown, did possess a property located at Silverest off Great East Road, reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime. In count 2, Mutembo on the same dates in Chongwe, jointly and whilst acting together with others unknown, did possess another property located at Silverest off Great East Road, reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime. However, the court acquitted him on 3 counts of failure to comply with the provisions of the Income Tax Act. The PF cadre is expected to open his defense in this matter. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
This is the main news on Camnet TV. We now take our first set of commercials. I will be back with more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Potatoes, the unsung heroes of flavor. From crispy chips to creamy mash, potatoes are the versatile superstars of your kitchen. Grown with love by our dedicated workforce drawn from around the community of Palavana. Savenda Farm's commitment is to see to it that we have potatoes that are grown right, healthy, big and tasty. For that quick fix or big celebration or that meal that brings family together, top chefs rely on the Savenda potato to create culinary masterpieces. And for others, it's that icebreaker to a delightful conversation. So, embrace the magic of Savenda potatoes. They're not just a side dish, they're the heart and soul of your kitchen. Savenda, save nations, develop Africa.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. We'll now continue with more news. The Zambia Development Agency has recorded 2.1 billion United States dollars from 231 actualized investment projects in 2023. ZDA Board Chairperson Biemba Maliti says the actualization investments also resulted in 25,890 jobs. Meanwhile, Professor Biemba has also disclosed that $39.9 billion in committed investments was recorded in 2023 compared to $8.6 billion in 2022.
As the year comes to an end in a few days, the Zambia Development Agency, ZDA, has held its end-of-year press conference to highlight achievements in 2023. Speaking during the event, ZDA Board Chairperson Biemba Maliti disclosed that investment commitments in 2023 increased to close to $40 billion from only $8.6 billion in 2022. Professor Biemba attributed the increased investment commitments to sound leadership by President Hakainde through his international engagements and stable economic policies in the country.
The increase in investment is represented by 364%. Just from last year to this year. In this scenario, the manufacturing sector recorded the highest investment. Thank you very much for that. Worth $19.7 billion. So manufacturing is at the top, followed by energy, 8.9 billion.
In terms of actualized investments, Professor Biemba says the country recorded $2.1 billion of investment with 25,890 jobs created.
2.1 billion actualized, and 25,890 jobs have been created.
Meanwhile, speaking during the same event, ZDA Director General Albert Harwampa says the agency in 2024 will maximize on digital technology in its interaction with would-be investors.
The management of ZDA, but that cannot happen physically because of the traffic of investors, the interest in Zambia. You can only do it on a platform which we call the virtual deal room. So this platform will operate 24/7 to give an opportunity to any investor in this corner of this world to make sure that they can go in, negotiate deals, close transactions.
For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
Zambia's annual inflation rate has surged to 13.1% in December 2023 due to price movements of selected food items. Zambia's statistical agency, Zamstat's Statistician General Mulenga Musepa, told a media briefing in Lusaka that the annual inflation for December 2023 increased to 13.1% from 12.9% recorded in November 2023. Mr. Musepa says this meant that on average, prices of goods and services increased by 13.1% between December 2022 and December 2023. Mr. Musepa said that annual food inflation for December 2023 was recorded at 14.2% compared to 13.1% the previous month.
The monthly food inflation was recorded at 1% from 0.9% in November, and mainly driving that were meats and vegetables. The various types of meats are indicated there. However, the monthly non-food inflation remained unchanged at 0.9%, but of course we had general price increases across pharmaceutical products and purchase of vehicles, and the items are basically listed. Then let's look at the overall monthly inflation developments. Out of that, you have now the overall monthly at 1% compared to 0.9% in the month of November 2023. The annual food inflation rose to 14.2% from 13.7% in November 2023, and again, like on a monthly basis, except here there's an additional item. We had cereals, meats, and fish, mainly explaining that increase in food inflation. However, there was a slight slowdown in annual non-food inflation. Now, basically, this is on account of just the base effect of transport division, transport inflation. You will remember that in the past months, we've been showing the upward trend in transport inflation, and we did say that this has had a bearing in terms of the continued increase in the overall inflation.
An expert in microbial organic fertilizer production and utilization from Kenya has called on Zambia to enhance the usage of organic fertilizers. Speaking on the sidelines of the Training of Trainers workshop organized by the Conservation Farming Unit in Lusaka that brought together 30 experts from various organizations, lead trainer and Africa senior consultant Professor Michael Makoka highlighted the importance for Africa's soil health to enhance food production.
Yes, my name's Michael Makoha. I'm the senior consultant for Livestock Global in charge of Africa. And Livestock Global is a charitable organization registered in UK, which is right now spearheading promotion of production and utilization of microbial fertilizers or biofertilizers. And in this case, the fertilizers LUNGU'S globally is promoting are based on hydrolyzed animal proteins. And we have got two types. One which is derived from fish as the base material or the base protein called fish hydrolysate, and another one which is derived from milk as the protein base material called lactobacillus. LUNGU'S has been in this business of promoting these technologies which are targeting resource poor farmers who cannot afford the highly priced synthetic or inorganic fertilizers. The hydrolyzed animal proteins as fertilizers are known to stimulate growth vigor and by extension enhanced productivity and yields in all types of crops. We are currently operational in 16 African countries. Zambia has just come on board as the 16th African country, and in Zambia we are working through Conservation Farming Unit as the partner, and Conservation Farming Unit as the main partner has brought on board so many other partners that it's working with. We have just had a 2 days intensive training of trainers, a workshop where we have trained 30 trained trainers who are going to disseminate information on production and utilization of organic microbial fertilizers in all agriculturally high, medium and low potential areas of Zambia. We are grateful to Conservation Farming Unit for having hosted us and organized highly intelligent and participatory team of trainees to be trained under this initiative. Thanks a lot.
We now take our final break. I will be back with sports as well as some international news. Stay tuned.
I never found you. I never had this feeling in my heart.
Are you planning to marry or get married? Contact the Camnet media team for a professional capturing of your big day in life. Let your relatives, friends and the nation join you in celebrating your big day on television. Just at a manageable fee, Camnet Television will cover and transmit your wedding on your channel of choice. Contact the marketing department on mobile number. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
I give my love to heaven home, and as far
Introducing Darren B, a touch of class. Are you looking for the perfect place to elevate your style and glam up? Look no further. Darren B Touch of Class is your one-stop destination for hair and makeup transformation. Walk into Darren B and walk out feeling like a star. Your transformation starts here. Call us on 0772 870 588 or WhatsApp on 0972 049 213 to book your appointment today. Payments are made via mobile money or point-of-sale machine. Strictly no cash payments. We are located along Mossy Road in Ibex Hill, 4th close on the left after Kalikiliki Police Post. At Darren B, we pride ourselves on our team of dedicated and trained personnel ready to pamper both women and children. Darren B is open 7 days a week from 0720 hours to 1740 hours. From trendy hairstyles and stylish makeovers to flawless makeup, we do it all. Darren B, a touch of class.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. And now, in international news, a main opposition candidate in Congo accused police of using live bullets to break up a protest Wednesday in the capital as demonstrators demanded a redo of last week's presidential election. Holding up a bullet, Martin Fayula told the Associated Press that it landed near him while he was barricaded inside his headquarters during a standoff with police. His claim could not be verified. Police said no live bullets were used, only tear gas, and that they were restoring order. AP journalists saw police physically assaulting some of the protesters. Fayula is one of 5 opposition candidates who called the protest. Some rights groups and international observers also have questioned the vote and alleged it was extended illegally. Many polling stations were late in starting and some did not open at all. Some lacked materials and many voter cards were illegible as the ink had smudged. In some parts of Congo, people were still voting 5 days before the election. Here's a roundup of international news.
Police in the Democratic Republic of Congo's capital, Kinshasa, clashed with protesters despite the ban in the protests last week by the government. Leading opposition politician in Congo called for the protest after rejecting last week's vote, which was marred by severe delays and bureaucratic disarray. We said we were going to demonstrate, to say no to this electoral robbery, this sham election. I told you a long time ago that Mr. Kadina, the president of Seni, an election observation specialist, was preparing chaos, and here we are. Police officers fired canisters of tear gas at supporters of opposition politician Martin Fayulu, who gathered at his party's headquarters. The supporters hurled rocks at the police. Nearby young protesters also set tires alight. There are 11 seriously injured and we've had trouble getting them to hospital. Now we've got them there. But look at this. This fell right next to me, a real bullet. The Congolese government said Tuesday that the protests will be banned because it aims to harm the electoral process. The police also reported a few injuries amongst its officers. Some police officers were injured by stone throwing, and a few minors were injured by stone throwing by intruders, which is what we feared. And that's why we said we had to listen to the voice of the authorities, who had to take other necessary measures to control the protests. Some 44 million people were registered to vote on December 20 in elections to choose a president, national and regional lawmakers and municipal councillors. Vote tallying is still ongoing, and President Tshisekedi took an early lead. At least 40 people were killed when a tanker truck exploded after crashing in central Liberia, according to police on Tuesday. The tanker carrying gasoline crashed and fell into a ditch along a road in Totota in Bong County, with police saying at least 30 more people were injured in the explosion, as locals also gathered around the scene. A health officer from the same county told local newspaper that there were some 36 critically ill patients, including children and a pregnant woman. Poor road safety and weak infrastructure have made sub-Saharan Africa the world's deadliest region for crashes, with a fatality rate 3 times higher than the European average, according to the United States figures. Benin has lifted its suspension of imported goods transiting to Niger through the port of Cotonou, the sports director general said Wednesday, following 5 months of sanctions on the coup-hit country. The West African regional bloc, ECOWAS, imposed sanctions on Niger following a coup on July 26, which saw the military oust elected leader Mohamed Bazoum. The measures have led to the closure of the border with Benin, which has seen a fall in revenue after the transport of goods to Niger via its port was halted. The move comes almost a week after Benin's President Patrice Talon called for relations to be swiftly re-established between his country and neighboring Niger. Both countries are also concerned about a giant oil pipeline that will allow Niger to sell its crude on the international markets for the first time over the Benin port of Seme. According to Cotonou's Port Director General, the measure was taken in view of the substantial improvement in the operational conditions for handling goods at the port.
FA's President Andrew Kamanga says the 55 million kwacha budgeted presented to government for the Africa Cup of Nations covers the whole tournament up to the final. Speaking during an end-of-year media interaction, Kamanga said 2023 had been a hugely successful year that had seen the Copper Queens feature at the FIFA World Cup and the Chipolo Polo qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. The FA's boss said that planning for a tournament as big as the AFCON required prudent projections which compelled FA's to factor in all costs up to the final. He says if Zambia wins the Africa Cup, the country is guaranteed $4.5 million because that's the prize money for winning the cup. Meanwhile, FAS has announced that one of the referees involved in Cabo Warriors' goalless draw with FC Muza has been suspended. The unnamed match official has been suspended following the incident that saw Cabo Warriors denied a clear goal over the weekend.
It'll be a battle of the big boys in the second round now. Mushure shot from range. Saved by goalkeeper Spilt and another double save. Followed by it's a goal! And finally the deadlock has been broken and it's Godfrey Binga. But the offside flag is up from the second assistant, Israel Chikumbi. And a yellow card will certainly come through. Now, let's see what could have happened here. Disallowed.
But this is the situation at hand here. Cabo Warriors in the attacking mode. Look at Ocean Mushuri now passes the ball. No offside at that point. And it is saved. Okay. Well, and he comes in. Well, no offside for me. But of course, the linesman had something else to look at. It's very difficult from my angle.
Muza living very dangerous in that area.
We've come to the end of our main news, but before we go, here's a recap of the stories making headlines. 5 people die of cholera in the last 24 hours. Nas Mumba criticizes former President Edgar Lungu's statement on corruption. An Egyptian national refuses to have his money forfeited to state, claiming that Zambians were involved in the God saga. In international news, opposition protesters clash with police in Kinshasa after partial results released. And in sports news, FAS says the 55 million AFCON budget should be viewed as an investment. Our verse of the day is coming from 2 Thessalonians 1 verse 6. God is just. He will pay back trouble to those who trouble you, and give relief to you who are troubled, and to us as well. My name is Sylvia Zulu. Thank you so much for watching. Good night and God bless you.